Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. I want to first thank Lenny for another great start to a week. You know, it's just not Monday if you don't turn on Lenny's Fantasy World at 9 a.m. and tune in, listen to the Nuggets, and take notes, really, because it's getting to be that time of year. You know, it's just not going to be that long before it's draft time. And so because of that, I'm not going to talk about this morning where Mookie Betts might be going or is Nolan Arenado going to be traded. I want to talk about my rankings. And we started this last week. As you remember, we started talking about rankings at the outfield. And so today we're going to start around the infield. And it's first base time. And so some of these positions, again, you're going to say, yeah, I agree with. Some of them, maybe not so much. This is a chat room. This is a podcast, guys. Everyone has their opinion. But I've got two in my top tier, the top two first basemen in my rankings. One of them plays outfield also. And because he is a first base, outfield eligible type player, my number one ranking right now is Cody Bellinger. Yes, Cody Bellinger of the Los Angeles Dodgers, my number one ranked first baseman, and it doesn't take much to figure out why. Last year, against left-handers, Bellinger hit .280 in 193 at-bats off of left-handed pitching, 18 home runs. 366 at-bats against right-handers, 29 home runs, and he hit .317 against right-handed pitching. Now, his home and away splits, I love these. At home, Dodger Stadium, 27 homers, a .304 average, 60 runs scored, 61 RBIs. On the road, he hit .306, 2 points higher than at home. Now, only 20 homers on the road, but he did score 61 runs, drive in 54. My point being, Bellinger almost equal numbers, both on the road and at home, and he is my number one first baseman heading into the 2020 draft. Now, I told you there were two in my top tier, just behind Cody Bellinger, and I think certainly worthy of first-round discussion, also Freddie Freeman. Yep, Freddie Freeman, my second rank on my chart, first baseman, going into the 2020 draft. Freddie Freeman last year, let's take a look at these numbers. I mean, these are so Freddie Freedom-ish, right? Against lefties, he hit .255. Against righties, .307. 30 homers off of right-handed pitching. At home, he was a .276 batter with 22 home runs. On the road, higher average, less power, .313 average, 16 home runs. Freeman without pain in the offseason. And I'm expecting some really big numbers out of Freddie Freeman headed into the campaign. I just do think so. I think he's going to be an incredible player. He's my second-ranked first baseman. Pete Alonso, number 3. You know, Alonso comes off the 50-plus home run year as a rookie. He's the National League Rookie of the Year, back for second season of the Mets. Now, remember, he only hit .250, so he's not a big average guy. He's not going to give you the average. He's not going to give you the stolen bases, whereas Bellinger and Freeman are going to give you the average. Alonso, multi-power, though. I mean, laden with power. Will he hit 50 home runs this year? You know, you want to say no, but here's the other thing. Throw this at you. There's no competition at first base headed into the season. He is the Mets' first baseman. Day one. Remember last year there was this competition going on. Would Alonso even be in the lineup on opening day? That was the talk going into draft season. Not the talk this year. And Dominic Smith not going to be the first baseman. So Alonso has that certainty. He knows he's got the job. He's going to be the first baseman day one. I think that takes some pressure off of the kid. And I think he can hit 50 home runs again. He's my third-ranked first baseman. Now here, with my fourth-ranked first baseman, you may not agree with me, and it's okay if you don't. But I'm taking Matt Olson from the Oakland Athletics as my fourth-ranked first baseman in my standings. Now, I look back at 2019. I think the first thing you have to acknowledge, remember the broken hamate bone. And remember, Olson was out a month. Nonetheless, he still hit 36 home runs last year. Nonetheless, he still drove in 95 runs, and that's missing a good month out of the season. Now, he's still better against right-handers. He had 157 at-bats against lefties, 11 home runs, 325 at-bats against right-handed pitching, 25 home runs. And as you would expect, his numbers away from the Oakland Coliseum are better. Away from Oakland, he's a .302 average last year with 23 homers and 53 RBIs. At Oakland, only a .236 hitter, 13 homers, and only 38 RBIs. So, Olson much better on the road. I think Olson is going to have, he's 25 years old, okay? 25 years old. He was a .268 overall hitter last year, scored 73 runs. I think Olson is going to have a breakout kind of year. I really do. And he's my fourth-ranked first baseman heading into the drafts. All right, so who's number 5? This is where it gets, to me, a little questionable. A little bit of a guesswork. And I know I'm going to have my naysayers on this next pick. But I really like him on the team structure he's on this year. I like him because he has great power. He's going to have guys on base in front of him all year. You may not have him ranked this high, but my next first baseman on my list, coming in after Matt Olson, Jose Abreu. Oh, yeah! Jose Abreu. Abreu now, remember, he's playing on a White Sox team that I think can compete for the division title. He is my fifth-ranked first baseman. Bellinger, Freeman, Alonso, Olson, and then Jose Abreu. Let's take a look at Abreu in 2019 on an improving White Sox team. Okay? First of all, overall, 284 hitter, 33 home runs, and 123 RBIs. That's right. A lot of us don't remember Abreu hit 123 RBIs, knocked them in last year. Against left-handed pitching, he was a .349 average. He's a left-handed killer. 9 homers. More power, though, against right-handed pitching. 24 home runs. Drove in 93 against right-handers. Only 30 RBIs against lefties. At home in Chicago, .309 hitter. 15 homers. 60 RBIs. On the road, a .262 hitter with 18 homers and 63 RBIs. He is an RBI machine, and he is number 5 on my first baseman list. Number 6 on my list, Anthony Rizzo, the 30-year-old Chicago Cub. Well, Rizzo, now, this is another tier of first baseman. When I get to Rizzo, to me, that's a fairly big drop from Abreu. Okay? Rizzo comes in after Abreu. He, last year, hit 21 homers against right-handed pitching, 6 homers against left-handed pitching. He hit .307 for an average against right-handers, a .250 average against lefties, overall a .293 batting average. But he did have 5 stolen bases. And you think, well, that's not a lot. But when I think of Anthony Rizzo, I don't think of any stolen bases. I just don't. But Rizzo with a good batting average in a good ballpark, I like him. He comes in next on my ranking. So let's just do a little recap. Bellinger number 1, Freeman number 2. Okay. Alonso number 3. Number 4 on my list, Matt Olson. Number 5 on my list, Jose Abreu. And number 6 on my list, Anthony Rizzo. So who is number 7? Well, I think last year you'd have to consider this St. Louis Cardinal in a down year. He hit .260, 34 homers, 97 RBIs. His days of stolen bases are probably behind him. He only had 3. Paul Goldschmidt, number 7, on my list. Against left-handed pitching, 9 home runs, a .269 average. Against right-handed pitching, 25 home runs, a .257 average. Now, my concern with Goldschmidt, and why is he at number 7 and not higher? Because they lost Ozuna. And I'm just really concerned right now about the protection that Goldie is going to have in that Cardinal lineup. Could he be lower than 7? It was a close call. And I'll tell you in a minute who came in at number 8. But it was a close call. But for right now, I've got Goldie at number 7. We'll see how that all pans out. So now we move to number 8. And I know Lenny has said he doesn't believe he'll put up the same numbers as last year. Maybe not. But I think he's going to put up really good numbers. And he's multi-positional eligible. And he proved last year that the Rocky factor does not carry over to Yankee Stadium. My number 8 first baseman, multi-positional eligible, DJ LeMahieu. He hit .327 last year with 26 homers, 102 RBIs. He scored 109 runs for the Yankees, by gosh. Against lefties, he hit .375. 310 against right-handers. 10 home runs against lefties, 1 every 16 at-bats. 16 homers against right-handers. His ratio, of course, better against left-handed pitching. At Yankee Stadium, 19 homers, 59 runs scored, 54 RBIs, a .338 average. He hit .318 on the road with 7 homers, 50 runs scored, 48 RBIs. LeMahieu proved to me last year that he can hit away from Coors Field, and he is my 8th ranked first baseman heading into the 2020 draft. Now, next, number 9. This was a close call for me because I'll go ahead and tell you who I look at as my candidates here. You've got still left on the list you can choose from. You've got Carlos Santana for Cleveland, Yuli Gurriel for Houston, Trey Mancini for Baltimore, Josh Bell for Pittsburgh. But my number 9 first baseman is Max Muncy. Mad Max, who can play at first, second, or third. A lot of power from Muncy. The Dodgers are going to be playing him probably in some different positions. Last year, batting average does hurt you a little. .251 last year, but he scored 101 runs. He knocked 35 balls out of the park. That's right, 35 homers, and he had 98 RBIs. And when I look at his home and away splits, better at home average-wise, .258, better away power-wise, 22 of his 35 homers came away from Dodger Stadium. He drove in 56 of his 98 runs away from Dodger Stadium. Muncy, I like him at number 9, and that's where he is. He's my 9th rated first baseman on my list. So rounding out my top 10. I just went through some names, and a kid who played really well last year, and I kept waiting for the bubble to burst, and it really never did. My 10th ranked first baseman, 27-year-old Josh Bell of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Last year, Bell hits .277, 94 runs scored, 37 home runs, 100